Today we have someone who's going to be helping us out. He himself has gotten a very good score, which is pretty amazing in the SAT. And we're going to be taking some tips and tricks from him on how to ace our SAT exam. So let's welcome our guest for today, Mujib Asad. Assalamu alaikum, Mujib.
Welcome, Sam.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Just let me just give you like a background on myself. Like,
Yeah.
I've did my O and A levels from FGSC, Sadikabad, and yeah, I had 7 A stars and 2 A's in O levels and 3 A's
Wow,
in A.
mashallah. That's amazing. And what subjects did you have?
I had Pakistanis, Urdu, Islamiyat, and art in O2, and in O3 I took mathematics, additional mathematics, computer science, physics, chemistry, and English.
In your A levels, what grades, what subjects did you have in your A levels?
I had physics, chemistry, mathematics at AS level, and I scored all A's. I'm currently carrying business, and I will be sitting for like business composite in the coming May, June. Yeah.
Okay. So today, as you know, the topic is the SAT exam. What score did you get in your SAT exam?
The last SAT I took, I scored a 1510 with
Okay.
720 in English and a 790 in maths.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And can you tell us when you gave the exam? Was it during your AS?
I gave the SAT twice actually. The first time around, I sat for the December session, and the last one I gave in the August session, the last August.
Okay, so what was your score the second time around? Was
It
that
was
when you get?
first time around it was a 1390, and the second time around it was a 1510.
Okay, so how many times can you give a retake? Is there a count, or you can
No,
give it?
there's no limit to it. It's like as many times as you get like the opportunity. I think you can't really give it until you're like 16. So
Okay.
in Pakistan, I think if you count all of them, there are like 8 sessions you can avail. I haven't counted them thoroughly, but it's a guess.
Okay, all right. So getting into studying for the exam, how exactly did you go about preparing for it? How did you study?
I would say that it's like pretty hard to manage A levels and SAT. Yeah, basically me just going to classes, taking notes on A levels, and coming home just doing the SAT. That was basically how I sat for the SAT first time around. Since it was like in the middle of my first semester, you can say. But I think the August session is much easier in the sense that you get much more time. Just you can spend quality time on the SAT since like most of your preparation period falls in the summer vacations. Yeah,
Okay, so you gave it in December.
yeah, the first time around.
Okay, so and when did you start preparing for it? How long before?
I registered for the SAT 3 months before before the actual test, but I would say that I actually started studying for it like a month and a half before actual test.
Okay, and did you take any tuitions, or did you go to a coaching center, anything like that, or did you just prepare yourself?
It was basically self-study only, yeah. Nothing of that sort whatsoever.
Okay, all right. And the SAT comprises of how many sections?
There are 4 sessions in total, 2 for English and 2 for mathematics, with 800 split in between them. Like there are
Okay.
800 for mathematics.
All right. So starting with the math section, how did you prepare for that? Were there any, tell us about the resources that you availed, any past papers that you solved?
I would say that Like when you start out at A levels, like when I sat for the December session, I had
Yeah,
like already covered most of the syllabus during my AS level prep. So I
okay,
would say that you don't really need any like sort of like you don't really need any resource if you're studying maths in at AS level, right?
yeah.
But I think I would recommend College Panda's mathematics uh, guide since I did cover chapter two from that. Although I'd never solved any of their the past questions that are on the back of the book. And as far as math prep goes, it was pretty much just solving like official papers. Yeah,
Okay, so you just did this past papers and most of the syllabus was covered from the AS level itself.
yeah. Own A levels are math syllabus is sufficient for the SAT.
Okay, all right. And what about the English section? How did you prepare for that?
I think I'm like more of a math person, so English was a
Oh,
much trickier for me. So
oh,
I actually availed quite a few resources for that. I For the
okay,
first SAT, I used the black book, the SAT black book, and
okay,
for the second time around, I used Erica Meltzer's reading guide, and
okay.
for writing, I used College Panda's writing book.
Okay, all right. And was it difficult managing your A levels and your SAT exam alongside?
I think first time around, what made it if you like are I think I would recommend people just like to be regular in classes and take notes
Hmm,
as you're going through like your SAT prep.
yeah.
But at home, remember like missing homework for like a couple of weeks before I sat for the paper.
Hmm,
But if you take notes in classes, I think it's easy to catch up with your peers. So that's that. Like for the first time around, the second time around,
hmm.
I remember like most of the prep uh, uh, fell in the summer vacations anyway, so it wasn't really that hard to manage.
Okay, all right. And do you think that time that you prepared was sufficient enough to get your desired
Yeah,
score?
for sure. It The SAT really depends on like how if you like able to grasp the paper. It's like not.
Oh,
It doesn't really have a syllabus. It's like unique the fact that it doesn't really have like a given syllabus you have to cover.
hmm,
It's just that you have to understand the test as a whole. And what
okay,
made it, I think I didn't really spend that much time on the SAT, to be honest. Like,
okay,
I remember, like, okay, just spend your time accordingly. That's what I would advise. Make a schedule and know where your weaknesses are at. And in this section, I would say that it's much more like much trickier than the math section
hmm,
like objective and there are questions like where you have like three options and just can't tell them apart like so it's differently like a hassle to learn how to distinguish like the right answer from the wrong and it um I think the best resource for this like the Erica book definitely helps like for like a beginner I think Erica's book is like structured in like a very uh, in a manner that anyone can go through it and
okay,
uh, you know grasp the ideas behind the reading section. Although I would say that even till the end, I wasn't really able to ace the reading section, right?
okay,
So that's one thing I still regret. Should
okay.
have had prepared for that.
So, like you said, is there anything that you would do differently now if you were to give the exam again? Or is
I should have had spend more time on English than
okay,
mathematics.
okay, and
Uh,
how would you have prepared differently for English?
I think I prepared for the writing section well. I had one mistake on my actual test,
Hmm,
and yeah, I don't really have any. But yeah, I think I did a lot of practice tests, and
Okay.
I think that those really didn't help as much as I like spent time on them. May have
Mm.
should have had like used different books instead of
Okay.
like going over all the papers I could get my hands on.
Okay.
And yeah, that's one thing I would say.
Okay. So, what's one thing, Mujib, you think that helped you the most
Oh
to
yeah,
prepare for your
okay.
exam?
Like after I gave the SAT in
Mm.
December, I knew exactly where my weaknesses
Okay.
laid. So I was able to like uh, okay, prepare accordingly, right? So
Mm.
one thing I did was I assigned days to each section, right? So like one
Okay.
day I just reading, writing, and nothing else. So
Mm.
going through several writing passages and like going through them without any time limit. For a
Okay.
beginner, I think there is no point in like following the given time. And I remember like the first paper I solved for the December session, it took 3 days to go through all the questions.
Oh God.
And and it really, and the SAT isn't really about like doing the most practice test. You have to really break down the test and understand each section as a whole. Even for the August session, I remember that my time management wasn't good at all. So the first reading section I did, it took me like half an hour above the time limit, and
Okay.
like I still like never cared for it until like the last week.
Okay.
So you should definitely focus more on actually understanding the test rather than like following the time limit, and that shouldn't really be like a big concern.
Okay. I think that's a nice tip to focus more on understanding the questions and trying as much as you can to attempt all of them to answer correctly
And
as much
also
as you
don't,
can, and then limit yourself to the time.
it
Mm.
doesn't really help you like doing the whole paper as a whole in a single day. So rather than that, you should go, if you're doing like, as I said, if you're doing writing, you
Mm.
should just go through all the writing material you have, right? Try to improve your score. I never count the number of papers
Mm.
you have done. Like
Okay.
I have friends like with perfect scores, perfect grades in O levels who
Yeah.
did like 30 papers, still still got like a 1230, 1250. No, they gave it again. Now they have like decent scores, but it's not like a good idea just to do more past papers. It's more about understanding.
Mujib, can you tell us any additional resources that you availed, or somebody who's
Uh,
about to give the exam, what resources they should use and how they should, something that will help them prepare?
I would have had recommended like printing all your papers because that's what I did. But now like it's
Yeah.
going digital, so
Hmm.
I'm glad like I did it on paper because digital SAT would have sucked for me. Uh, I never found like d- I never liked doing papers on like your phone. I think I've gone over like Khan Academy. I used to do sections, uh, writing section wherever I was, like
Hmm.
free time between classes, something like that. I would just pick up my phone, open Khan Academy,
Okay.
and do a section or two, a writing section
Hmm.
or two. Those ones were like the quickest one, the shortest ones.
Hmm.
So that's that. Like, and the one thing I would say, like, go through Reddit. Like, there are some papers there. Giving the SAT for the second time, I
Hmm.
felt that doing papers on repeat, and like there are only 10 official papers that that Khan Academy offers, right? The
Okay.
College Board
Hmm.
offers, and I think those are not nearly enough, especially if you have gone through them already. I remember doing
Hmm.
like reading, like the reading section again, and had like I had like a pretty amazing score, and I knew something was wrong, right? It didn't really feel right.
Huh.
So I went to Reddit and did a few papers there, and yeah, I think and don't do papers on repeat, especially writing section, reading sections. Uh,
Okay.
Yeah, that's something I would say. Read
Okay,
it.
all right,
Don't forget.
read it. Okay, so and you said that you gave the SAT twice. So do you think it's a good idea to have to give the exam twice, or you should be well prepared enough that you get a good score in your first try?
Yeah, you should always go give the paper with the mentality like this is your first and last time, right? Thinking that it's okay, like that never helps. It's terrible. Like if you get into that cycle, like you have
Then
another
it just
session,
keeps lingering on.
yeah, just get it over with. And for my both my SATs, I went the mentality like this is it. I am not giving it again. And even after 15th, and I was thinking like, okay, now should I give it again or not? Like,
Yeah, I,
you
I
can
can
you can
imagine
always give
because
it
A
again.
levels is pretty hard and would be difficult to manage.
And you can, yeah. Another thing I would say is try to get the SAT over with during your AS level. Yeah,
Okay.
during AS. Especially for in the December session, that's like
Mhm.
the best opportunity you would have all year. The March session sucks. Yeah, you have
I can
practically no
imagine.
time.
Yeah, because you can either study for the SAT or for your CIEs.
Yeah, so it's either the December session or August session, and that's pretty much it. Even October, I would say it's a decent opportunity, but like it falls in the midst of the your A levels.
And Mujib, what advice would you give to students who are now entering A levels about thinking of giving their SAT exams? You've mentioned a lot
Um,
of helpful tips, but any other advice, additional advice that you would give to someone going into like study wise, preparation wise, just how
yes.
to manage
Start
both
early.
things?
I think you should all. It's a good idea to start early. I knew I was going to give the August session way back in January, so you make your mind up like
Mm,
early on
mm,
and start early. It would never hurt
yeah.
to start early. As far as like A levels goes, yeah, uh, try to cover as much as you can alongside your SAT prep.
Mm,
And for that, I would say, yeah, make notes. What made it
okay.
easier for me to catch up with my peers was I had my notes in. So I may not have the homework, but
Mm.
I eventually covered up and got the grade.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I think we've covered pretty much everything now.
Yeah.
Is there
Okay.
anything else that you would like to mention regarding the exam?
Just saying it again that go with the
Mm,
mentality that like this is your last paper. You should definitely prepare accordingly, right? But if you're
yeah.
scoring 1400 on your practice test,
Mm,
it doesn't mean
mm.
you're going to score 1400 on your actual test. So yeah, try to increase that score on your practice test. Yeah, in AS,
Mm.
students in AS, I would say that August session is your best bet because you would have all summer to prepare for it. But I would say that with a reminder like that, people get carried away in summer vacations. So put in the
Mm.
time. Right?
Okay, thank you so much,
Yeah,
Majid. Thank you so much. I think we've all gained some insight into giving the SAT exam, how to prepare for it. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll see you all in our next video. Allah Hafiz.